Just a quick disclosure to share in conjunction with this podcast. Each of us are speaking to our personal experiences and do not consider ourselves experts and cannot offer medical, therapy, financial, or legal advice. We represent a wide range of experience on the autism spectrum and will always honor each perspective that is brought to our discussions. Our experiences, opinions, and perspectives are all unique and different and will be celebrated. Thank you so much for listening and connecting with us. Thank you. Welcome to Navigating Adult Autism. We are just a bunch of moms with a lot of perspectives, a lot of opinions, and a lot of experience. My name is Mary, and I am here with Heather, Cynthia, Tara, Dawn, Elizabeth, Kara, and we have Valerie Gustin from the SWI, the workshop, is here as our guest because she is a mother of a son on the spectrum as well. And we're going to be talking about self-care and coping skills tonight. But before we get that, you know what it's time for? It's time for Navigating News. And our news tonight is that the first thing is, sorry, Heather's laughing at my Navigating News.
I love your music.
Sorry, I like my Navigating News. I work really hard on that.
It took her a long time to find that.
Right. So old. Okay, Cynthia, your son Eric, who is on the spectrum, we've talked about it before, if you're an avid listener, which we hope you are, he has a full-time job as a para. Mm-hmm. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
You want to say anything about
He's
it?
in Willard, and he's doing really well because he's kind of a man of few words sometimes when you ask him how it's going, but he says it's going well.
Good. And he worked there this summer, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the spring too?
He worked in the spring. He worked before school care at 6 a.m. And then sometimes we go back at 3:30 for the after school care until 6.
Oh, wow.
And this summer he did before school care, and then he did pairing. He did a pair job until 2:30.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Congratulations, Eric.
Awesome.
Yeah. That is awesome. As we know, we're very, with disability employment, we're very proud of our.
Yes.
Yeah.
Should I say where he's at? Or did you say?
You said Willard.
Oh, did I? Okay.
Yeah, I said we're just very proud of where our children are. It's going well. And we're also very proud of our own Heather here, who is board president for a local service provider. So we're very proud of her. She's been with them since 2017. So congrats to you for always advocating.
Thank you.
Yes, and we do want to mention your page again. Remember, Zachy, let's throw that out.
Okay. So when I retired, I knew I needed to have some lines of advocacy for my mental health, which is great to fit into this topic today.
Right.
So, I started the page for Zachary on Facebook, Everyday Adventures with Zachary. And then I knew I was involved in the board and wanted to keep doing that. And then I have the podcast. So I thought that was a good combination of things to keep me, a little something besides just straight caregiving. So
right. And this podcast helps you out, right?
Yeah. It's like a counseling session.
Yes.
Is it not?
Your page is very
That's
good.
essentially why we started it. To support each other. We started having dinner to counsel each other, and then we're like, we need to start a podcast.
So we're going to talk about self-care tonight and also coping skills. And we all have them, probably different phases of our life. They probably morphed into different coping skills and different self-care. But before we get there, Valerie, do you just want to tell us a little bit about your son?
Robbie?
And, yes.
Sure. Bobby's 31. He was diagnosed when he had an IEP in school, but they didn't know what it was. And he had kind of a Tourette syndrome, but not, it wasn't overwhelming. And then it was ADHD, and then it was H, and then it was, I think they called his IEP an unspecified diagnosis or something. So he had some assistance classroom within a classroom to help him graduate. He went to alternative school in junior high. He had a wonderful teacher, Mrs. Hicks, up in Buffalo, and she figured him out because I didn't think that boy would graduate high school. I was just terrified. He just had a terrible attitude. He wanted to start a fight club. I mean, it was just,
oh gosh,
he was a scrappy guy.
I bet you needed some coping skills and self-care.
I was a wreck. But anyway, so at OTC then, one day he went to OTC for, he got into they called it USA Skills in Buffalo to do like the VOTEC stuff. He was always kind of good at putting together a puzzle, a little bit of a monkey doing stuff like that. He enjoyed that. So he was in USA Skills, and so he went in to do HVAC and to get his certificate there. And he's not a book leader. My Rob's not a reader. He's not a writer. He doesn't cursive. But he prints his name. Amazingly, banks accept that nowadays because I guess lots of young people print their names. Yeah. So anyway, when he was at OTC, I pulled up to get him one day, and I just left him there to do his own thing. Like he was saying he was doing okay. I knew he wasn't a book learner. He was doing okay in the certificate type stuff, so I wasn't too worried. I didn't expect him to walk out of there with an associate's degree in English, so I wasn't concerned. And Jeff Jones, who at the time was he's a wonderful human being.
Yeah, we've talked about him before on here. Yes, wonderful,
He was wonderful for my Robbie.
Right. He's at MSU now.
He's at MSU now.
He's wonderful.
And so he met me at the car, and he's like, "Mom, something's going on." And so Rob was getting up in the middle of class and just walking around and just talking to himself while the lecture's lecturing and just doing little funky stuff like that. And then he tells me in the car, "I think there's people in a secret society at one of these tables, and they're trying to get me." And in my head, I'm like, a lot of times that's when schizophrenia hits is in your, and I thought, yes. Oh God, my boy. So we went to Mercy, and Westside. He saw Dr. Westside at this Westside clinic. Anyway, they did an evaluation on him. That was the insurance through work I had at the time. And we got the diagnosis I did not expect, which was autism. Robbie's room is terrifying. You pretty sure could be condemned if anybody were to walk in there. I mean, like his organization skills have always been a mess. His bathroom countertop is hilarious, the amount of product. There's just... So after that, then, the hardest thing for me was to tell him that because I was really afraid to tell him and then to explain, his IQ numbers and things like that because... he thought he was going to rule the world. He didn't, he wasn't a traditional spec ed guy, And I remember thinking, because by then I was not working for the ARC anymore, but I had for 10 years. And I'd always thought the worst thing would be those people that were pretty darn able. That's got to be so hard because if they're not thinking that way anyway, and they're getting their parameters, you always think so I got the one that I was most afraid of. The son I got was the one who called me last Friday and was mad that they're disrespecting him and he's never going to get a promotion or he's going to get to be a supervisor. And I'm like, well, you do really well, Rob. And I talk him off the ledge like, we all do with our...
And how old is he?
He's 31 now.
He's 31. And he did go into HVAC then.
He did. He worked for 2 different companies who kind of hired him for his driver's license and then would fire him because they'd have these guys who'd get their licenses suspended or whatever. And they were all mean to him. And, he can be a bit of an odd duck. And he dropped something or he couldn't lift something one day and he was just heartbroken. So I went the traditional way and we went to VR and I'm like, you need to get a job, buddy. They'll help you. So he went through there and he used the Ark of the Ozarks and he got a job at a feed store because we lived in the country. Mm-hmm. And we had we wanted cattle, but it wasn't our thing. So then he worked for the man at Fairgrove Feed Store for years, who's now an older man who sold the store. He taught Robbie animal husbandry. Robbie would get up in the morning and be there and help this old guy with his farm all morning. And then he'd go work in the feed store and carry people's bags out to them and do that kind of stuff. And he was always helping Dan doctor his cattle and do this and do that. So he learned they need to eat this much, they need to do that much. Mm-hmm. So he worked there about 5 years for, I think, minimum wage. Like it was like $7.20. Back then it was like Fedman wage. So, and then he got fed up with that and he could do better. So he got a job at Lowe's and he worked there for a few years and he really liked it and he did a good job. And a couple different times he got bonuses because stuff would get delivered. And this one day he wasn't willing to sign it. And the truck driver was throwing this fit and he goes, there aren't 2,500 there, And then the managers went over and they were like, oh yeah, they're right. He was ripping us off. But he could tell by looking at it because he had done it so many times. Mm-hmm. So being a guy who can put things together, that was his he's not great. Sorry. He's not great with numbers or whatever, but he knew the look of it was incorrect.
Wow.
So he did that for a while. And then he really wanted to use his skill and his education because he did get his associate's degree with HVAC. So he got hired at Thermo King. So Thermo King in town, they do refrigeration units for trucks, like Highland Dairy and all those kind of guys, those kind of trucks. So he got hired there because the guy who interviewed him had the same VOTEC teacher in high school that Rob, it's always that whole circle.
Yeah.
It's not what you know, it's who you know when you get a job. And he goes, if you know righty-tighty and lefty-loosey, we'll be able to figure it out, buddy. So he's worked there now for, I think, 6 years. He's very happy there for the most part until, he decides he should be running the place. But
Right.
but my Rob, I pay most of his bills. I do all that kind of stuff with him. He can drive, and he drives. He's an excellent driver, slow and careful. But my Rob would go to the store with the cow and come back with the magic beans. So that's where he needs the most support, and and lives with me and doesn't think there's anything odd about that. You know what I mean? Like at 31, so
Yeah.
and it's fine. I'm pretty much his social life, other than the guys at work. He's a guy at work, but that's kind of it. And then he has cattle now at his dad's place. He keeps a few head of cattle there. And then now he's taken up another job, and on the weekends he's taking care of Sonny and Bunny at SWI Gardens because the dogs need to be looked at 7 days a week, and they need love and attention. And when they were puppies, we brought them home a few times, and Robbie would sleep with them because we have dogs, and he's an animal lover. So he goes on the weekends for, I think this is a total of 3, maybe 4 hours.
Oh, good.
Waters the garden, and so he has three jobs.
Good for him.
But what else? Like he says, what else am I going to do? So.
Oh, well, good. Well, we're glad you're here to talk about self-care and our coping skills. So I know we asked on our website some questions. Do we want to start there, girls, or what do you think? Where do you want to head that, or does anyone have a coping skill? Listen.
Well, I think we all.
There's a lot of them. Isn't there?
Golly. And Connie Klein wanted to make sure that we knew that there's some people that are single parents, and it's hard for them to have those that time to set aside for self-care. So her hearts are out.
Yes.
Her hearts out to you guys, because I know that I could not get through raising children without a very supportive husband who gave me time on my own to have self-care. Things that I did. So anyways, Lynn said, build my own support system that reflects the same parts of me so I can go to them when that part needs attention. For example, I have about 3 different friend groups that each bring out and support different sides of my personality. Work friends, party friends, old high school and college friends, and of course, family. Knowledge of myself and who can lift me up is key to my sanity. And then someone else said, stay plugged into things and activities that bring you joy. Listen to what your body is telling you and respond accordingly when possible. Understand you are not alone.
That's a good one.
So those are 2 that I thought were most important.
Right,
So,
right.
Didn't someone say exercise online?
Maybe. It
I
might have
think
been.
on the concepts that you posted, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh,
It
yeah.
said take a walk and different things like that.
That helps.
Yeah.
But yeah, as this Elizabeth, as I was thinking, one of the things that just kept back was that friendship piece, because just like Connie said, sometimes you don't have the physical time, you don't have somebody to take over, and
Right.
I really like how you said that, Tara, that our hearts go out, to that person, to those families. And not saying, well, you still got to make time. You got to make it work. No, sometimes it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's all we can do is offer our friendship and to say, we understand, our hearts are with you.
Yeah.
And we feel you. But really that friendship piece, can be one of the most rewarding, and it doesn't cost. But I know I'm not always the best friend, because if you're in front of me, you're my 100%, right? I'm there 100%, but then I leave and it's like, oh yeah, I was supposed to do this, or I said I would do this, and I was going to call. So I appreciate, and I noticed over the years, the friends within our disability community, they either give me grace or they just get it, because that's the same way they are.
I think that's what it is with all of us. We know what we're all going through, what all of our lives are like, and we are here for you when you need us.
Right.
And when we need you, all the ladies at the table are going to be there for me. and I give you grace that you know that I don't need a text every day that I'm thinking
Right.
about you. I know that you love me and I love you guys. So, and I have that support in my life. So those people that don't have that, it's you have to have a plan to build it a little bit. I know that there was one when we used to have the autism night. It was one of the fundraisers for one of the teams that we all dressed up and had fun.
Oh, yeah.
There was a single mom with 4 girls, and we all know who she is. But she had, a daughter melting down in the hallway, and Jason and I just went up to her and said, "Can we help you?" And just someone going up to her, she still points that out to me. And I sat with the daughter. I can't remember if I went with the other girls, but just having a verbal support, like, I am with you. I am on your side. It meant the world to her. And she still brings that up. And I'm like, God, it was nothing. It was nothing. Just to have someone in your court is just amazing. And all you ladies are in my court, so I know that I have you. But you almost have to have a plan to build that, because it's hard when you have little ones, and especially if you're a single parent. So I understand what Connie was saying.
Yeah. You have to be intentional. And like Connie, she showed up, and I just was speaking with someone just last week, and they didn't want to go to certain things because, it was hard. It was hard because their child might act up, might not want to be there. And I said, well, this is the perfect place. These events that you're talking about, this is where you need to be, because everybody there. I said, and I know it's hard just to get in the car. I said, but once you get there, I said, I promise you, it'll be okay, because nobody's going to be judging you. Nobody's going to, they're going to be your friends, even if it's a friend for that moment, for that one event.
Yeah.
And that's important to me.
So I think we're saying a little bit is that self-care is also being vulnerable to also, show up and maybe even say that, I need help.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just what I was thinking.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think people feel guilty. I don't really. I think a lot of people feel guilty about saying, I don't really ask for help that much. But I'm saying, like, emotional, like, I need this, or I need some time to, do this or that. I think there's mom guilt that goes with.
Yeah.
Because, like, for Connie, I know, like, once you become an adult, your child is an adult child, and they have a waiver, like Zachary has, a community waiver. And so he has DSP hours, direct support professionals. That is my only coverage. And so probably for Connie in the time that her and her daughter came up from that, I don't know what the logistics of waivers were.
Right.
But if you don't have family or a friend or something that says, hey, let me tag in, and you go out and do something for a couple of hours, which is complicated on the profound end, because it is difficult to find people that they may want to help, but they don't understand probably the depth that it's going to go to.
Yeah.
Well, you take that moment and you get refreshed and you get relieved, and then you come back and then you got to fix it.
Right.
All the things that happened while you were gone.
Yeah.
But definitely, I think if you have, in this current world that we live in, and you're just like, for me, retiring, I mean, I worked full time, and so Zachary had 40 hours of DSP coverage, basically, so that I could work. And now that I'm officially retired, I still kept 1 day a week. And that was for, otherwise I wouldn't have any time.
What do you do?
Well, I do all my appointments. It's on a Tuesday, so I do all my
fun.
appointments.
Right.
But I get my hair cut, every 5 weeks or so. That hits on a Tuesday. And then I go to lunch with friends or previous coworkers, not all the time. I would say probably once a month. Somebody reaches out, or I might, reach out to somebody. But I go to the bookstore. I just wander around a little bit. I go places I would not probably be able to go with Zachary. Quiet places where we would stick out like sore thumbs. But yeah, just a little bit of time. And I felt guilty I thought 1 day a week seems like too much. Because I love, but I mean, I love being home with Zachary and stuff, but
I was going to say up it to 2, but
yeah. And I would feel guilty about upping it to 2. That's a whole process I would have to work out with myself. But I think just being, let's see, it's, what month are we in?
September.
So I've got 3 more months to make it a year being home. And I will say that, yeah, not that I look forward to the Tuesdays, but it is nice to have them because,
it's probably really
most
helping
definitely.
you. It's helping you.
and it's good for Zachary.
I was
Yes,
just
and it's
going
good
to
for
say,
Zachary. It's helping you
I don't
both.
think the second day would be a bad thing for Zachary either.
Right.
You got to figure that out with your mom guilt.
He does love stay home mama is what he said for years
Yeah.
until I quit.
You do now.
So I do.
Yes.
It's like, boy, and he runs me around. He was just staring at me while I put my makeup on today, and I was like, "What do you need, buddy?" I'm just trying to get ready.
Love it.
He was like 2 inches from my face. Like, I'm like, okay, here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for Connie, I feel bad because there's probably decades of time that there weren't DSP resources and things like
Right.
that she could even use. So
that's a
it
shame.
would be
Yeah.
hard stuff.
Especially after they graduate.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
they're home a lot. So what coping skills did you guys use besides, I mean, that's a kind of a broad term, isn't it? So,
Yeah. We've talked about like the supports we had. Like my parents took our kids and we went on vacation. We had to go somewhere to keep our marriage alive because we've talked about that before
Right.
during the marriage podcast that we had to have a break or, sometimes you don't make it. So we had to have those times by ourselves, but it wasn't just because of autism. It was because I was a mom in general.
Well,
I
yeah,
had
just with
other
everything
kids.
else going on.
Yeah. Yeah. So there just has to be something. And I can tell you, Zion is at Achieve and Caleb is now, it's not summer and he's back in high school. I am loving having the day free so I can study and everything like that and do what I need to do. So it's not just, everybody needs self-care. It's not
Right.
just...
Not just moms with disabilities,
Right.
but it is.
But if Zion was
different
here,
world.
yes, if Zion was here, he's tracking me like, I see you're going by McDonald's. Can you get me something? Yeah, there's always
Something.
Because let's be clear, we're moms to adult children
with
now.
adults,
These aren't
yes.
kids in, I mean, like,
No.
yes, we have some in high school. I mean, I don't, but some of you, whatever. But I mean, that's the difference to me. And that's the journey ends for most people with their child on a regular daily basis. I'm not saying you don't call your mama and your kids don't call you every day when they're in college and whatnot.
No.
I'm sure they do. But I mean, the everyday, this is never going to end thing,
Correct.
that
Yes.
ends and you get to part ways and you have a little bit of a empty nest situation. So I think, yes, regular parents definitely need all
I am
that, but
I am Zion's best
you're both-
friend.
Yes.
I am Zion's best friend.
You are tethered.
Yes, when
together.
he comes home, he wants my full attention.
Yes.
He's not quite to Zachary's level where he's like 2 inches from my face, but he is in the room following me room to room. And even though he may not need something that he can, put words to, you can feel the need being, a little bit of your energy being sucked out a little
Yes.
bit.
Sure.
So even if the adult child with autism, my adult child with autism, may be very independent, drives, he wants my full attention when he's in the room.
You can talk.
Just someone to talk to.
Yes, and he can talk and talk and talk and talk.
And
Yeah.
talk. Yes.
Yeah, we've
yes.
told the story about being in Alaska and trying to scare off the bears. I just set Zion free and no bear came within 5 miles of it because he just talked and talked and talked and talked.
I remember when I worked full time, I would come home. I may have mentioned this on a podcast, don't know, but when I worked full time, and it was in special ed, so it was a lot. But I would come home, and my son would be there, and I would just go up to my bedroom and shut the door. And I told him, I said, "You need to give me 1 hour. Don't even say anything. Don't talk to me." I set the timer for him, and I would lay down on my bed just to chill and get away from everything. Because I thought if one more person asks me a question, or if I have to solve. Because when in special ed, I was, physically restraining and it was a lot, but I loved it actually. But And to come home, I mean, I like, give me an hour. And then I was okay. I needed to recharge or
Right.
whatever. And something else I kind of feel guilty about over the years, and I still think about this sometimes, that when I would go away on girls' weekends, or even if I'd go to St. Louis to visit my family, and everyone wanted to talk about my son or what's going on, and I was like, can I just not talk about this? And I felt really bad about that because I needed a break from it. I mean, I did talk about him, usually about the positive things, but what am I trying to say here? But it's not all positive, so I would try to say, oh, no, he's fine. He's doing this. He's doing that. But in my world,
you were very general.
I was very general, still tormented inside because I knew I didn't want to unload and say, you know what, sometimes it freaking sucks, about, and I still feel bad about saying that, but it is hard sometimes. I mean, he texts me tonight, he's got a problem, it just never ends.
Yeah.
And so how do you, and I'm like, I'm here to relax. Like, I don't want to really fill you in on how it's going. And do you really want to know how it's going? And sometimes I just needed a break, and not just from my son, but from special ed and the job. I don't want to talk about any of that.
You need your own identity too.
Yeah.
You're separate. I think there's a good thing about that though. I think you do you're your own person too. You're not, and I believe that we have felt like we're sort of just all wrapped in like a tangled mess with our children. And not that it's a tangled mess. I'm just saying that it's very hard to separate yourself, but I think that's healthy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I still feel bad about it, though. I still feel a little guilty about it. But I mean, I'm always putting out fires, constantly. And it's okay. It's part of my job. I love him. He's my world, and he's great, and I'm blessed, and he's doing well. But I think we're just all constant caregivers, and it just never ends. And I don't have it as rough as you. And I know, but it's the same. But that still enters your mind, doesn't it? Like, to me, it does. Like, I'm like, okay, I shouldn't be complaining. I shouldn't be, because everyone,
No, I think that's unfair to what your story would be. I think that, I won't name who, but someone that I talk to sometimes does that. Well, at least you're not blah, blah, blah. I'm like, that's actually not helpful at all. My situation and your situation, that we all have unique situations, and we have the right to process through those emotions and deal with them regardless of what the guy down the street is having to deal with. I think it's important to honor what you're feeling.
And being a mom of 3 children on the spectrum that are all over the place.
Right.
The thoughts and the conversations and the things that I have to work with my oldest Nicole, and I was all excited to tell you all about the promotion she got, but then she went into sensory overload and couldn't handle it, because all of a sudden she was, instead of having to listen to, muffled sounds, she was all of a sudden on this headset hearing everybody from everywhere in the middle of this dance competition and couldn't handle it. And how sad that was, and how hard that was for her to go through and help her process that and to do those things, where Nathan, he wants a Swiss roll off the top of the fridge,
I do too.
So it is. It's, as Heather was saying, we don't want to ever diminish that, because sometimes that emotionally, and some of my coping skills is more of it like an escape, like you were saying. So I love to just go to the movie theater, whether I'm interested or not, because at that moment I can shut everything down, and I don't have to, you can watch a movie at home and be entertained and you like that. But at a movie theater, there's nothing else. There's nothing else going on. So my kind of coping skill is to have those moments where I can just escape and shut my brain down.
Right.
What I'm saying, what I'm hearing from you ladies is, we've done this for years, for many, many years, and you have come up with coping skills. When you've reached your limit and what you need to do to get back. And so that's what it sounded like from you guys.
We
So
know
it's just
our
finding
capacity.
that.
I mean, I think that's important to,
I very rarely explode, but I have exploded, especially on my husband. And, when things are going rough, and may not just because of, my son or anything, but just the combination of everything in life. But because you had boys, they're just boys. And, sometimes you're the only girl, and I just lose it on both of them, and just quit with the joking and the tea. I don't know. It's just kind of, I don't even know, I'm not explaining it very well, but I've reached my limit. Just,
And you know what your
just
limit is.
shut up. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
Quit with the jokes. It's not funny. You're being rude. You know, be respectful to me or just go. And I, you know,
Yeah.
and I can picture in my head right now, the first time I think I ever did that, they were like, oh my God,
Yeah.
like what's wrong? You know, and I could hear my son going, Dad, what happened? What's wrong with Mom? What happened?
Oh my
And, you know,
gosh,
and
yeah.
just leave her alone. Just
Well,
leave her
I
alone.
had-
finally.
I had the 2 exchange students last year, my 2 boys and my husband. My daughter had moved out. I was the only woman. And man, best thing in the world, noise canceling headphones. I mean,
that would be nice. I would
oh
wear
my
those around the
gosh.
house.
Oh, I totally do. And my self-care is audiobooks. So I like,
I do listen to
yeah,
those, but I don't know.
I just put them in and do all my chores with noise canceling headphones.
Oh.
It is awesome, Mary. I need to bring them over for
I
you so
should
you
do
can
that.
see it.
I
So you
should do
can see it's like a whole new world where no complaining exists
right there, right? Yes.
unless it's in a book.
Right.
I think moms too are emotional support for. I know for me specifically, I have been since Zachary was diagnosed the emotional support for my whole family, including my husband. He is wonderful and loves Zachary to death, but he could not handle the day in day out stuff that I do, and I understand that, and also can't handle kind of going deep with me on some things. Right. I have to know the time and the place, and so I have been very good about keeping everything's good. We're doing this. We're doing that. I have to keep that emotional engagement kind of intact. I can't flip out very often because then I send everyone else in flip out mode. And
That's a lot of pressure right
that
there.
That is. I think for years of doing that. And so thank goodness I have hobbies is what I'd like to say. I am not, I mean, like I enjoy social interaction, but I must have been somehow the plan for me was to make sure that I was kind of an introvert that enjoyed like sewing, and I learned how to sew when I was 19. My mother-in-law taught me and quilt. And so there's lots of kind of creative things I can do at home that don't require me going anywhere. Scrapbooking. I started scrapbooking when I was on maternity leave with Zachary. And I thought about that the other day. Like those are the 2 things that I learned really early on that have helped me immensely. If I did not have a hobby and I was just, and Michael will say, if he's asleep, I mean, either sleep with, you know, like take a nap or do something, sew for an hour or something like that, instead of just getting all, especially after quitting. I've worked full time my whole entire life. So it was a little like hard to figure out, should I be planning and organizing and scheduling things every minute for Zachary? Because, you know, we have a visual schedule and we read and we fine motor and we do, you know, all that stuff. But he's like, I think a healthy balance is probably good. So I think that keeping things varied with each person, like whatever you find, if it's a phone call, I know even some online support groups that I had joined, because Lord knows I don't have time to leave the house and go to a support group. I mean, God bless everybody who can, but I've enjoyed that. And I've had a few phone calls with moms that don't live around here that I've never met, that we've had some good conversations about things. So you don't feel as isolated. So you just got to keep it moving and kind of know what.
Yeah.
And then if I need to talk, I just say, Michael, I'm so sorry. Because he thinks I'm talky. He says.
Yes, that's
As
true.
I told you
My
guys
husband, too,
earlier,
yes.
he said just the other night, he said, there's a ton of words coming out of your mouth right now. And he's a great guy, but I'm like, I know, but I don't know. I haven't talked.
But I
Like
don't work
Zachary's
anymore.
not
I'm
having
home all day.
conversations.
The podcast is on a break. I haven't seen my girls.
We haven't recorded a counseling session in 3 months.
Yeah.
So he's fine with that too. But yeah, I think you just have to kind of speak up for yourself.
Yeah, just get the timer out and say, I need, you know, 15
I need 10
minutes.
Yeah.
And
That's
to
a
watch,
really good idea.
watch it tick down. And
Yeah.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
And I know myself, you know, I'm very thankful to have Roger. You know, he's the first one that I go to whenever I need to talk about Kelsey or there's something going on. And he's really good. He's really good that he just sits there and listens. And whether he really listens or not. His eyes are kind of glazing over. But yeah, he just sits there and listens. I try to do the same for him if he's frustrated. But, and then my friends, you know, I've got friends that are living through it and going through the exact same thing. You know, like Cynthia, I'll call you or Mary or, you know, and you can't believe this, you know. And, you know, they sit there and they listen.
Yes.
And listen, that's all that I need.
Yeah.
I need somebody to listen for me to get it out.
Yeah, so I was going to say the friends are there. I've called you. We've called and grabbed to each other many times or just vented and yeah.
It's out of the blue,
Good
you know, I'll
support.
call and say, okay, this is what's going on.
Yeah,
You
or
know.
you can't believe what happened. Yeah.
And you don't even have to see them very often because, like, we were talking about friends. Like, I would say I have, like, intimate friends. I mean, intimate in that we talk about deep. You know what I mean? That I can just say anything and whatever. One lifelong friend that, you know, doesn't understand the situation necessarily, but she's always been so kind. And when I couldn't leave to see her, she'd just come to the house and we'd do stuff at the house with Zachary there. And she understood that, listen, you can invite me to things, but I'm probably going to have to tell you no. And she was fine with that. And the other friend is Ginger. She's in the field and I just love her. She's like my soul sister. And we see each other twice a year probably because everyone's so busy, but
She gets it.
She gets it. And she was like the first person, you know, her and Sasha were the first, and Amy, and there was a whole little group there that were the first people that came to our rescue after diagnosis. They were in our house for hours a week. So those people, because they know the deal, you don't really have to explain any of it. And so that's been a nice kind of lifelong connection that's helped
good.
too. Yeah.
That's good. That's really good.
Well,
And
and it's,
when Eric was growing up, and I worked full time, and my husband traveled, so I was just the only person there at home. And so my self care was just to get him everywhere he needed to go, to counseling or his doctor's appointments. That was self care. I didn't really have any self care. And then I would try to get out and walk, but I just enjoyed walking by myself. And then talking to friends. I could call Kara and talk to anybody, Elizabeth, and just talk. And then I also go into a couple of stores in Springfield. One is Bonbons.
Yes.
Bonbons no too. Okay, wait. I got to tell you.
I used to see Cynthia.
I have to tell you. Okay, so Cynthia house sitted for me when I had to go to New York for some medical appointments, and she stayed for over a week, and she watched my doodle for me. And we knew that our house was being taken care of. And I was like, I need to get Cynthia something. She loves chocolate. So we tried finding chocolate. Remember when you went to New York with me? And we were trying to find these fancy chocolates. We would walk like 5 blocks just to go and get some chocolate. But anyway, got back home and I was like, Rach goes, we need to get Cynthia a gift. And I was like, I said, I'll go to Bonbons. And so I went into Bonbons and I was like, okay, my friend comes here all the time. And they're like, yeah, what's her name? And I said, Cynthia. And I go, and then there's a girl that yelled in the back. She goes, Cece.
Oh, I love it.
So they know her by name. How often are you there?
Well, when I was going through all this, I was there a lot for just talk to the girls, and they counseled me. I'd go in with a story, and I'd be in tears, and they would just listen and talk to me.
But you would get chocolate, yes?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yes.
what's your favorite
Self-care.
Just dark chocolate.
Okay.
The darker, the
now
better.
we'll know. Well, I'm sure Kara knows.
Their dark chocolate sea salt.
Oh, they
caramels
told
are
me
really
what you liked.
well, that's what I was going to ask you, because I know you had a little bit different because you did some homeschooling for quite a
Yes,
while.
I did for a couple
So
of
that's
years.
what I was going to ask. So that answers what I was going to ask you, how you did those years, because you didn't have those moments. And he had some really hard times.
He did. And we had a lady that helped us with math and science, and that was Sarah from Wonders of Wildlife at the time. Yeah. So she tutored him in those subjects. And then we just tried to I just think we wung it. We just flew by the seat of our pants, basically.
So
And
you
look where
feel
he
like
is
you
now.
did. I'm sorry.
Look where
Yeah.
he is now.
Yeah.
And we immersed him in volunteerism too during that
Yeah, you
period.
did.
That's,
I think that was the hardest time of my life was when Zion was on homebound.
Oh, I bet.
And just trying to get, because the teacher only comes out, 3 hours a week or something. And that was horrible trying to be a teacher to a son that had some big behavior problems. And I just had to give up a little bit.
Yeah.
So, Cynthia, you didn't really have a lot of self-care just besides
No,
walking.
I
You just
didn't.
would get out and walk. Yeah, that's a shame. I'm sorry to hear that.
his self-care was the animals.
Exactly.
That
It was the animals. And I would sit because I'd drive him out to the zoo, and he'd be out there, and I'd just usually just wait there, and just when he did stuff, or we'd go because we could stay in the zoo after hours. So if we got there at 3 or 4 one day, we could stay behind this. You were just walking around even after they closed.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, we lived at the zoo too. Yeah. Yeah.
Has anyone ever come home early and just stayed in their garage, in their car?
Oh,
Me too.
yes.
You just sit in the car.
Yeah.
Because no one knows you're home.
I know. And then I would sometimes fall asleep
Yeah.
and they'd come out there and knock, knock.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I did that all the time.
Yeah, I
just
still do
wasn't
it.
ready.
Yeah.
I just wasn't ready to go in
Yes.
and to face the next part. I just needed to gather some strength. And it wasn't
Yes.
avoiding necessarily, but it was more of I'm just not ready to give up this peace yet that I've had, just to think about myself and just not to think about other things and other people's needs.
Yeah.
So.
I think we think,
I
like,
agree.
especially with social media, I think you hear a lot of people saying, well, don't say anything negative or don't say you're tired or that you're stressed or whatever. Somehow you connect that with loving your kid and like not honoring them. And no, it's just that you're human beings and you have to recharge sometimes,
Absolutely.
right? So, yeah.
I remember when Rob was little one day, and we had to leave a party because I used to say, falling apart. It was just, it was starting to happen. So we're walking home. It was a few blocks away. And, he did the old meltdown, threw himself on the ground. Like, and this was, pre-diagnosis. Everyone would talk about, oh, Valerie, that one. My friends would all be like,
Something's going on.
Poor Valerie, and I never got it. I'd be like, well, what's your problem? He's curing your kid, I never got it. Because he was adorable. Anyway, and he's laying there. And so we tried, and so he had wanted someone else's toy, and he wasn't getting it. So we're leaving, and so this elderly couple are driving down the street, and they stop, and they look out, and they go, so what's going on? And I put my hands in my hips. I'm like, well, he can't have somebody else's fire truck, and he's not liking it. And I said, and we're not going to do anything about it. So we're going to wait here till we can get up and walk home.
Yep.
And so the guy leans out, and the lady was kind of like this, and the man looks out and he goes, good job, and keep that up, And they drove on. And I remember thinking, people probably think, I'm kidnapping him or, stranger danger in him. But, there were times, I remember one time my legs were just bruised up and down on one side and the other because we were at some train thing, and he loved trains. He loved choo-choos. So we went to the special train yard thing thinking, I'm doing this thing my kid's going to love. Hated it. Well, he did okay for a while, and then he was talking when someone else, the guide was talking, and the guide was like, you're supposed to be being quiet. And he was 3, and he wasn't really very verbal anyway, and I was kind of like,
Yeah.
But anyway, so he started melting down, and I had to carry him to the car. You would have thought I was kidnapping him, and your legs and arms are black and blue, and he's and under this arm, under that arm, and forward.
Oh, yeah.
You just you just push through.
And no eye contact with any passerby.
Oh, no.
That's right. Never make eye contact.
Put your head down and just keep going. That's all you can do.
That's right.
Well, I think that's a good point, because I don't think people who have neurotypical or a child that doesn't have a disability or something going on understand that sometimes the child, has violence against you. And it sounds like your son had some of that. And I had a lot of that. The girls know some of the things. I have a lot of PTSD from that. So I think some of that self-care is maybe getting help for yourself. Because I had to go and talk out some of the things that happened in our household, and my 2 kids had to go into counseling. My other 2 kids that the violence was against as well. So, I mean, it's okay to ask for help and to work through those things. And because you're going to be a much better mom when you can take it, when you're taking care of yourself and not having those panic attacks or, something like that reverts you back to those times. So I think that's a good point, that a lot of people don't realize the violence is sometimes pointed directly at the person that they love the most.
Yes.
And that's what happened the most, is because he knows that I love him the most.
Yeah.
He's not going to act that way at school. He's going to act that way.
And I believe when they're doing that, they want you to gain control of that situation somehow.
They feel out of
because they're out of control.
Yeah. Right.
And so while they're flailing around, whooping up on you, what they really want is for you. I mean, they don't want you to put them in a headlock and they'll throw them. But, you know, I mean, they want to find a way to
want
make it
something.
stop, and they can't do it themselves. And
I think that's so true. Yeah.
so,
It's so true. It's so true.
Yeah.
And I will say, when it's part of self care too. My mother-in-law and my mom. It's probably, and besides Kara and my friends, I would call and just vent on them. But you know, sometimes that would go sideways because you know, then there are questions. Well, isn't there any help out there, or what's going on? You're like, oh God, I don't want to explain disability law to them and all this, you know, going on. But I would say they were got an earful from me. Probably still do. Honestly, I'll call about things, and I will say that. Listen, I depended on my faith too. There's a few times I'd pull into Immaculate Conception Parish and go in the church and just sit there all by myself in the quiet, kind of like the car.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I would just pray, like, okay, dear God, I can't do this anymore. Like, what is happening? Like, help me. Like, help me. I mean, what do I do? Guide me in the right direction. I rely on my Catholic faith tremendously to help me. But even with the car, like you were saying, one time Dean opened the door. He goes, what are you doing out here? Because I'm like, you weren't supposed to open the door to the garage so quick. But I'm like, well, I don't know. I'll be in a minute. You know, but
I'm chilling.
Can you bring me a snack? Be helpful. Bring me a snack.
Right. But yeah, when we had this topic, I was like, wow, but I do have hobbies. I mean, when I retired, SWI is a big hobby of mine and a delight. But I do play tennis, and I think any exercise
And
does
obviously
help.
decorating.
Well, she's the decorator.
I do love to do that. I mean, on a budget, of course. Yes.
Somebody else's budget is nice.
Yes, it actually is.
And we're not really allowed to say no to her anyway, so it works out for us. It always looks better than she gets a better budget than I would.
At least you like it. I'm glad you like what I'm doing. But anyway, exercise is very important because I do think that when you exercise or play pickleball, like you were saying that you play, and I play tennis a lot, it does take your mind off everything because you have to focus on the ball, you know, so that's helped. And I've taken a lot of long walks. So anyway, it's important. Self-care.
I was going to add to the faith component. And so I've already disclosed, you know, I'm an Assembly of God PK. And
PK is pastor's kid.
yes.
Thank you, because I had to think about that for a second.
Yeah, the ability to talk to God and say, I don't understand this right now, and I certainly don't like it. But having that bedrock belief that God is there, He does care, Jesus loves me, this I know. And it's not a matter of, I heard somebody say, you know, drink the Kool-Aid, take the crappy and make it happy. It's
I never heard that one.
Wow.
Never heard that one either.
I only know the lemon one.
That's right.
Take the crappy and make it happy. Write this down.
words of wisdom. It's not original. I'm quoting somebody else, and I don't even remember where
So
I got
can we
it to
make a
give
T-shirt out of
credit.
that one? Yeah. Can we make a T-shirt out of that one?
Yeah, with our website.
Yeah.
If you want.
Oh,
Yeah.
If
we
want
may
to
have a
put it
store on our website.
That's right. That's true. By the way. Okay, go ahead, Dawn.
Well, it's you know, it's not so much that, because there are times, you know, when I go to church, I go to a large mega church that's very happy and very awesome, and
World headquarters are here.
yeah, that's right. You know, and sometimes you feel like an Eeyore in a Tigger world.
I love that.
Another
that one too.
That's a good one.
Another T-shirt. I didn't like the other one. I like that one.
It's not mine, so it may already be copyrighted. Who knows? You know, but faith is that belief that things are going to be okay. It may not be right now, and JR, unlike some of the stories here, he hasn't been violent. I mean, I've had some embarrassing moments with him in public, no doubt. But he'll go off to his own little room and he will stay there and he'll play the video games all day long. He'll watch his movies or whatever. And so then it's like he doesn't need me. No, he needs me, but being able to connect to him,
Right.
to give him what he needs in a method that he can receive that. And I keep telling him, JR, wise people take advice, and I don't always give you wise advice, but I can tell you what I'm
that's
telling
another
you
good one,
now
You're
is
full of them tonight.
wise people take advice. And
It's like number 5.
What does he
that
say?
one's from the Message.
Okay.
Paraphrase of Proverbs. Anyway, trying to get him to listen to me when I'm telling him this is good advice, and helping him process through all that. And he may be 27, but he knows, still needs some guidance. And
It's hard for them to take advice, isn't it, though? Do you guys find that?
Yes.
They still think they're right.
Yes.
Do you ever see that? I mean, they just still think they're.
I'll say,
it's hard to get.
yeah,
like with my
we've
niece and
circled the
nephew.
airport many times. Let's bring it in. We're done. We're
yeah,
done
right.
talking about this.
That's another good one.
Over and over, and he'll get so fired.
Yes, yes.
And, because he's so upset about something. And,
Right.
right.
Are you sure, Mom? Are you sure? I'm like, okay. Yeah. So,
Dude.
yeah, meeting them where they are, it was hard. Well, do you have self-care, Dawn? What do you do for yourself?
well, this podcast that's already been mentioned.
Yeah.
Faith, I go to church.
Writing the
You talk to
autism
God.
gossip.
Writing the autism gossip.
Coming soon.
Coming back.
Coming back.
The return.
Volunteering, for organizations that I believe in their mission statement. Being around neurotypical people
Right.
Yeah.
sometimes.
Right.
My daughter and I just got away to go visit family, and my husband and JR stayed at home. That was nice.
So that helps you.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
I know when I go home, my sisters are there and my mom. And honest to Pete, my jaws are sore from talking so much and smiling. Because I thought I mustn't do this a lot at home.
Oh, yeah.
No offense, Dean. I'm not saying that.
Don't
but
worry, he doesn't listen to
anyway.
Yeah, he won't hear it anyway. But I forget. I mean, they don't. With you guys, I of course have a good time and talk. But I'm just I've never talked this much in my life. Must be what it's like to be around family, because I've lived away for 31 years. But I forget. And at one point, I was like, I'm really not used to this anymore. Because I have so much quiet time. And anyway, that's sidebar on that. But it is good to be around neurotypical people. That was my point. Is that I'm like, I forget how this is to be around family and to get away, which probably doesn't make sense because I go there a lot. But anyway,
Yeah.
that's my silly point.
Did I say this already about going to graduate school and that it's actually self-care? My mom always
I can
says,
see that.
why are you doing all this? Are you going to really make,
Like get a job.
are you going to work
career.
for a long, long time? And I was like, you know what, Mom, this is not something that takes extra of me. This is something I want to do because it's self-care for me. It's not something that's draining me. It's actually something that's building something new in me. And it's my own thing. And it's, I was a stay-at-home mom for 17 years. Even though I had a degree before that, I never went into that field. And that's what I was known for, was I was a stay-at-home mom. I mean, of course, I did all the autism walk and PTA and all that stuff, but this is for me, and I think doing something for yourself, even if it means going back to school at age 50, and doing something where it's my own thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And it's, even though it's hard, it's something for myself.
Right.
So
I did that at 43 too. That's
Yeah.
when I finished
Yeah.
my psychology degree. Best thing I ever did.
Yep.
And no, I didn't make any. I mean, I already had a full time job that was
Right.
paying me well.
So it was like your self-care then?
Yeah, and most people thought, well, you can't do that. I mean, I find that through the years, even in work related things, it's like, well, Heather's not going to be able to apply for that, or Heather can't do that, because she's got Zachary. I'm just pretending that's what they're saying, because
Yeah.
I know they were.
Right.
And it's like, oh, just give me half a second and I'll go ahead and do it. Let's
right.
check that off the list
Right.
because
We've
Yeah.
done so much. We've proved everybody wrong
Yeah,
with
like-
so many different areas in life. Now I'm going to do it for myself.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed being most of the people were in their 20s, I guess, in those classes. And I thought, these are the best things ever. Like, I loved writing papers.
I know. It's
But true.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, when you went back, did you get all A's? Because I know
Yeah,
I did.
I did too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you bet.
the process, and you really
And
are
you're paying
enjoying
for it.
And remember
It's
when
not-
you were
yeah.
traditional age and those people walked in the room and you were like, oh, God.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ruining the curve. Here they come. They're going to do their homework and raise their hand. That's right. Going to be off.
That's true. That's so true.
Yep.
Very true.
I think back to those women now and I'm like, they were awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
At the time, I didn't think so.
At the time, boy, was I wrong, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. I forgot about that.
So
goodness.
my question then to you guys would be, we talked about self-care and doing it. How do you recognize in yourself when you're not doing it and you're starting to get stressed and you need, so what are those boundaries or those things that start to happen in your life when you realize I'm too stressed, I'm not taking care of myself? What have you experienced any of that?
I could tell you that my relationships start
Right.
getting not healthy. Like, I mean, my relationship with Jason, sometimes I just have to say, I am so sorry I'm being such a
Yeah. I
B
usually get
word.
crabby.
Yeah. Not
And I
getting
think it's
enough
okay
sleep.
for our husbands or significant others to let us know, say, hey, something's up. You know, you might
Yeah.
need to.
Yeah. Jason sent me to care to the nature path. What is it called? Homeopathic doctor. He's like, you're complaining a lot. You need to get your hormones in check. I mean, he didn't say it that way, but that's what I interpreted it. And I just needed someone to say, okay, I'll pay for it. Because I had been to the regular doctor so many times and I'm going through premenopause or something and they're not giving me anything. They're just putting an estrogen patch on it.
Yeah.
Here's real truth, guys. Here's real truth. Me talking about hormones. But you
It
know,
happens.
yeah. I mean, it saves, just invest in a person who's going to get bioidentical hormone testing and it will save your marriage.
It's wonderful.
I'm just kidding.
saying.
Not all
Out of
marriages.
experience.
Not all marriages. But you know what? It's important to take care of your health and spend the money on
That's right.
more testing.
Well, because hormones, they do. As we age, they do affect us emotionally, physically. And
Right.
if we need to go and have it checked to get better along with everybody,
Yeah.
even with our kids.
Yep.
Yeah. Dean told me last night, actually, just last night. He goes, every time you come downstairs, you puff and puff because of what's on TV. I go, well, I'm sorry, I don't want to watch The Sopranos every time I come downstairs 3 nights in a row. Like, I think that is, justifies my huffing and puffing. The Sopranos are on. I don't want to watch that.
He's binge watching, Mary.
Yeah. He's what?
Binge
Yes,
watching.
he is.
So what does he do? Does he change it?
Oh, God, no.
Okay. You got to get through it before you quit watching it.
Yes, and it's kind of violent.
A little bit.
But we kind of check each other. So I guess what I'm trying
Yeah,
to say.
yeah.
Like he's like,
It could
because he
be
doesn't really
worse.
complain. The cup is half full. He's not a complainer.
Yeah.
He, and I'm more down here. But I was kind of mad when he said it. And then I thought, oh God, he's probably right. Maybe I am being negative and crabbing when I come down here. But listen, I really did want to watch Sopranos.
Right.
But I didn't need to.
But see, that goes back to like
Crap about
what
it.
Kara was saying. Our significant other has noticed. We may not have
Right.
noticed that we need
Exactly
that,
right.
but our significant
Yeah.
other has noticed, and
Yes.
that's okay.
I was
I'm okay
complaining
with
about
telling-
physical pain, like not, I was complaining that my body hurt all the time. And he was like, you need to go here.
Yeah.
I think that's important.
Yeah. No, he self-checked me. That was good. I needed that probably. And I probably do that to him too, but he is a good support to a certain extent, like you were saying. It kind of,
I mean,
still
Michael's
try and-
great. I mean, he doesn't care if I buy quilting fabric to help
Right.
my mental state. And I love to buy quilting fabric. It makes me super happy. But I mean, he'll say, take your Tuesdays, do whatever. I mean, whatever will work. He's not going to help me determine what that will be for me because it's different for both of us. But it is nice that I don't have to, especially I don't have a paycheck anymore. It's a super weird feeling after your whole life.
yeah, it is.
And so I don't have to ask to go get my hair cut. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just like do what you need to do. I was like,
That was one thing I did have on my list was retail therapy that we haven't mentioned.
Yeah.
But did everybody answer your question though, Elizabeth? Like, did everybody? How do you know when you need?
I mean, what would we tell somebody that's like listening and they're like, self care? What?
Yeah.
How do you notice?
I've got to,
How do you notice that you need it?
Well, I notice by, I start regretting things I say or do, or I don't, and there's silly things. They're not like I blow up or something, but I start to notice I make mistakes. I never miss a doctor's appointment, and then I'll miss like 3 in a row, and I'm like, what is going on? When I start doing things that are out of the ordinary for me, that's when I realize that I'm either stressed or lacking a lot of sleep, and that I need to start doing that self-care because I start doing things that I don't normally do, or I'll miss things. And I set maybe I need to do some self-care. I set Nathan's iPad that's got his seizure monitoring on it, and I set it down. I'm always so careful, and I set it down and it slid off and it busted. And I was like, we've had this so long, and I baby this thing because this is my lifeline. And I can navigate the house. And I thought, and that was one thing I thought of. I was like, hey, I'm off because I'm, this is like, treat this like glass. And so, I notice when things start happening to me, or I do things that I don't normally do.
Yeah. Do you get away by yourself anywhere, or do you do anything on your own, or do you not like to be alone? Like,
I'm fine with being alone.
Or you stay in the car. You stay in the car and fall asleep.
The car, yeah.
But do you take long walks or go away to like visit a friend by yourself, or?
No, some of my biggest things are taking those family trips because we are away from the home, away from appointments and obligations, and that's that type of thing. So I'm okay.
That helps.
My self-care, it's still okay being with family and not necessarily needing to be alone. Although I don't have a problem with being alone. I'm more than fine with that. But that's my kind of mine is, getting rid of the noise and the clutter of every day and just going off and enjoying. And so we take trips a couple of times a year, and that really refreshes me. We can go to, our favorite Disney World, and the effect lasts for like a year. I can feel it.
Yeah.
So.
Right. Yeah.
I do that with camping because even though I have another whole house that I'm taking to the campground, I'm not cleaning the house here.
There's no responsibility.
Yeah. There's
when you
no-
go
yeah.
camping. You just sit around the campfire or around
It's
the lake.
even better when there's no cell signal too, because then I'm
it's the
totally
best
cut off.
unplug, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
How do you know, Val, when you need?
Everyone's irritating me. Everyone's stupid and dumb and making mistakes, and I get rolling my eyes. And how do you people function? And then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, I'm the problem. It's me. That song, it's me. It's me. So I'm getting I've been trying to be more self-aware in the last couple of years of noticing that
does happen with age too. I think
everyone's
a little bit.
irritating me. It's probably me. Like, I'm hot, and everyone says it's cold. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that seems to be my thing, and I read. I like to travel. I like to exercise.
You
I
do.
can do stuff like that.
I heard a therapist I'm sorry, Dawn. I heard a therapist on TV one time say, and I was just probably cleaning, and it was on that if you start dropping things a lot, that you're too tired and that you need to rest. That a sign of you. So I have never forgot that because there are times I do drop things a lot. I'm like, oh, okay, must be tired. Like your brain's tired or you're overworked,
Right.
and a break needs to be coming soon. So I've never forgot that. But
When I start finding like the laundry basket, like on the back porch.
Right.
Weird things like
Mom
that.
brain. Yeah.
right, mom brain, exactly.
Yeah, it's like, Jason looked forever for his shoes the other day. And he asked me over and over, did you do something with my shoes? And
like, no.
Like an hour later, I realized I did do something with those shoes. I put them in Caleb's room because I thought they were Caleb's. And it did not even fade. I didn't even remember it. Even when he confronted me to his face. And I was like, oh, those weren't Caleb's shoes. And Jason was like, I knew it. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's funny.
Oh, gosh. You were going to say something.
Well, it was more apropos to an earlier comment.
Oh, okay.
Circle
big
back,
deal.
it's okay.
Laughter,
Circle back.
Laughter is a good self-care.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
And didn't we all used to go to the, what was it, Mary Hines support group when she started that? Was it autism support group,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
And that was good
At
during the
Cox
day.
South.
Yeah.
I didn't go to that.
I didn't go to that
I
either.
didn't go to that.
It was good.
Why didn't you guys invite me?
Yeah, really. Gosh.
You I needed self-care.
That's where we first started
Right.
meeting.
Wow.
But I'm glad you brought that up, Cynthia, because that's something that is pretty available for everybody. There's going to be a group somewhere, whether it's virtual or you know, just online, or whether it's a church group or
Nova has an in-person support group that meets the second
Once
Tuesday
a month, yeah.
of
just
each month
started.
at 5:30 at Nova. Mocha has a Facebook group. There's a special needs
Springfield
group.
special needs.
Yeah, I've seen a couple people I know.
Yeah.
And a lot of
post
people will
things
go
there.
on, and just moms that are frustrated, and they'll go in and they'll tell their story
I've
and
seen
ask
that.
for recommendations from mom to mom. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Somebody just posted a link to their due process. They were having a due process with
Court date.
Springfield Public Schools. And,
Oh, really?
and said-
Open to public.
yeah.
That
Yeah,
was
at their request. Because I thought, man, that's great that Springfield Public Schools is willing to be that transparent. And I posted that. And,
Yeah, I saw
and
your
the parents,
comment.
the parent came back and goes, well, we requested that.
But you know what? I shared that to my mother-in-law, who's in Springfield Public Schools and having a horrible time getting any type of services for my nephew, and she was very excited about that. So I'm glad that you brought that up. And so takes a village.
It does take it out. So on our page, is that where we ask people?
Yes, that was
so-
the Facebook page.
Okay. So should we just wrap it up that way? That
Yeah.
if anyone else has any ideas, go to our Facebook page, Navigating Adult Autism. If you have any self-care or coping skills, please share them with us, and maybe we'll share them on the air next time. So
Yeah.
maybe we'll make him into a T-shirt.
maybe we'll have it in a T-shirt. That's exactly right. We
have
got a
several.
lot of good
Several
ideas
coming.
tonight. And maybe you can buy them on our website under our products eventually too.
Coming soon.
Yeah, we are growing. So anyway, thank you all for listening. So Tara, where can everybody find
Okay.
us?
You can listen to us on Apple and Spotify, Navigating Adult Autism. And then, like what Mary was saying, our Facebook page has a lot of people, getting together and talking about subjects, and our Instagram, and they're both under Navigating Adult Autism Podcast. And then our website is navigatingadultautism.com. If you need to talk to us, you can message us through the Facebook page or Instagram, or moms@navigatingadultautism.com.
Where can they listen to us?
Apple or Spotify.
Please share and follow. Please.
Yes,
thank you.
absolutely. Yeah. And you know what? If you can give a review, that would
Yes.
be awesome, because we have some great reviews out there, but the more reviews and the more listens and followers and subscribers, that helps us get higher on the list. So,
Yes. Thank you.
okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.